Adjust your pillow. Let the cool air settle around you. Tonight, we aren't just traveling back in time. We are uncovering the silent, forgotten maps of the human heart. Before the science of today, there was a dark, beautiful mystery called the woman's soul, and the world was terrified of it. Listen closely. Can you hear the silence of the past? For thousands of years, have you felt a sudden wave of grief, or a spark of unexplainable fear? You weren't told you were human. You were told you were broken. Doctors spoke of wandering organs, liquid silences, and ghosts in the blood. As your breathing slows down, matching the rhythm of my voice, we are going to walk through those heavy, velvet curtains. We will find the mystery gap, that strange hazy space where medicine met mythology, and where your ancestors' whispers still linger in the shadows. You are safe, you are drifting, and the truth is much stranger than you've been told. Feel the weight of your body pressing into the bed. Imagine the room around you dissolving into a soft charcoal mist. We are entering a gallery of ghosts, but they are gentle ghost women, whose sighs were mistaken for madness, whose anxieties were treated with fire and ice. Tonight, their stories will not haunt you. They will lull you into a deep, protected slumber. This is a history of the fragile mind, a term once used to diminish, but which we now recognize as the incredible depth of human feeling. There is a strange, haunting quality to the way we once understood the human spirit. We look back now from a world of clinical clarity, yet if we peel back the layers of time, we find a landscape where the mind was a map of myth. Imagine a world where your own heartbeat felt like a betrayal, where a moment of deep, unexplainable sadness wasn't seen as a sign of a soul in pain, but as a malfunction of your very nature. This is the core of our journey, the vast dark space between what women were actually feeling and what the world told them they were experiencing. As we sit here in the dark, remember that those days are gone. The stories remain, etched into the dust of history, but they cannot reach you. You are held in the present moment, grounded by the steady, slow pulse of your own life. The past is a distant shore, and we are merely observers on a calm, quiet boat, drifting past the ruins of old, forgotten ideas. You are safe here in the present, listening to the echoes of a world that no longer exists. Let us begin our journey at the very start of this long, winding road, traveling back to a land of marble pillars and ancient wisdom, to a place where the first-rate logic of medicine began to falter under the weight of its own imagination. Let us go to the sun-drenched, superstitious shores of ancient Greece. The year is 400 BCE. The Mediterranean sun is setting, casting long, honey-colored shadows across the cool stone floors of a healer's sanctuary. The air is thick, sweet, and heavy with the scent of burning cedar and dried lavender. Close your eyes and imagine lying on a soft linen sheet, fabric smooth against your skin. You feel a strange tightness in your chest, a restlessness in your spirit that you cannot name. You look toward the healer, a man of great reputation, a follower of the esteemed Hippocrates. He strokes his beard, his eyes filled with a clinical, detached certainty. He does not ask about your life, your lawsuits, or the silent pressures of your household. Instead, he delivers a diagnosis that sounds more like a ghost story than a medical fact. He tells you that your womb has become a traveler. In the ancient Greek mind, the uterus was not merely an organ. It was a living, breathing creature with a mind and a hunger of its own. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, genuinely believed that if a woman remained too long without a husband, or if she experienced too much emotion, her womb would become hungry and dry. To satisfy its wanderlust, it would unmoor itself from its rightful place and begin to roam throughout the body like a lost nomadic tourist, searching for moisture. Imagine the visual of this internal journey. If it moved upward toward your heart, you felt the racing pulse of anxiety. If it pressed against your lungs, you felt the gasping, shallow breath of a panic attack. If it climbed toward your brain, you were seized by dizziness or hysteria, a word born directly from the Greek hystera, meaning the profound complexity of a woman's internal emotional life was reduced to a rogue organ wreaking havoc as it migrated through her torso. The treatments were as bizarre as the diagnosis itself, to lure the wandering womb back to its home in the pelvis. Healers would perform a strange sensory seance. They would place pleasant-smelling herbs, sweet perfume, and fragrant oils near the woman's lap, hoping to attract the thirsty uterus downward. Simultaneously, they would waft foul, acrid smells. The scent of burning sulfur, singed hair, or crushed garlic under her nose to drive the animal away from her chest and throat. Imagine lying in that dim, flickering light, the smoke of bitter herbs stinging your eye, while the world tells you that your very soul is being dictated by a misbehaving, nomadic part of yourself. It was a world where you were never truly the master of your own skin. Anxiety wasn't a mental state. It was a biological rebellion, a physical animal moving beneath the surface. And yet, as you listen to this, feel the absolute stillness of your own body right now. Your heart beats steadily, a rhythmic drum in the quiet. Your breath is calm, deep, and effortless. The myths of the wandering womb have long since turned to dust, leaving only the quiet, unshakable truth of your own resilience. You are whole, you are centered, you are at rest in a world that finally understands the difference between the body and the spirit. But as the sun set on the marble pillars of Greece and the glory of Rome began to rise, the wandering womb didn't stop its journey. It simply found a new set of rules to break, and the blame for a woman's trembling hands began to shift from the anatomy of the body into the hands of the state. Let the Greek sun fade into the deep, regal purple of the Roman twilight. The Greek sun fades, and the warm gold of the Mediterranean is replaced by the cold, grand marble of Rome. Imagine yourself walking through a vast atrium, the floor beneath your feet made of polished white stone that chills the air. The pillars here are thick, unyielding and tall, reaching toward a ceiling that feels miles away. In Rome, the chaos of the wandering womb was met with a new, colder logic. The Roman physicians didn't just see a traveling organ. They saw a social problem. They looked at a woman's emotional distress, her sudden bouts of weeping, her moments of paralyzing fear, or her refusal to speak, and they gave it a name that sounded like a legal sentence. Uterianus. In the eyes of the empire, a woman's internal unrest was caused by a lack of employment. The womb was seen as a factory that had gone idle, and an idle factory was a dangerous thing for the state. If you felt the walls of your life closing in, if you felt a sadness that made your limbs feel heavy like lead, the Roman doctors wouldn't offer you rest. Instead, they would tell you that you were underoccupied. They practiced a form of historical gaslighting that was as grand as their architecture. Your pain was not real. It was simply a symptom of a body that wasn't being used for its primary Roman purpose. The reveal of the Roman cure was as exhausting as it was simple. Constant labor through childbirth. They believed that the only way to keep the female spirit stable was to keep the womb perpetually occupied. If a woman was suffering from what we now know as chronic anxiety or postpartum depression, the Roman prescription was often to have another child in need. They believed the weight of a new life would anchor the restless spirit. It was a cycle of physical demand used to silence the mental cry for help. Your value was measured in your output, and your health was defined by your utility to the glory of Rome. But as you lie here now, feel that Roman marble melting away into the softness of your bed. You are not a factory. You are not a vessel for anyone else's expectation. Tonight, there is absolutely nothing you need to produce. There is no quota to meet, no legacy to build, no duty to perform. You are allowed to be underemployed. You are allowed to simply exist in this quiet, dark space. Your worth is inherent, not earned through labor. Let go of the need to be productive. Let the weight of the Roman Empire lift off your chest, leaving only the light, rhythmic rise and fall of your breathing. You are safe. You are still. You are enough, just as you are in this silent moment. But as the torches in the Roman halls began to flicker and die, and the empire crumbled into the dust of the past, a much darker shadow began to fall over the human mind. The biological myths of the ancients were about to be replaced by something far more haunting, the supernatural. Night falls over a medieval convent, tucked away in a valley where the trees are thick and the wind howls like a living thing. The air is damp and smells of old stone, melting tallow candles, and wet earth. The silence here is heavy, broken only by the distant, rhythmic tolling of a bell. In the Middle Ages, the mystery gap moved from the body to the soul. If a woman found herself trembling uncontrollably, or if she heard voices in the wind that no one else could hear, the doctors were no longer the first to be called. Instead, it was the men of the cloth, the profound anxiety that comes from isolation, or the deep depression born of a life of restricted choices, was no longer seen as a wandering wound. It was seen as an open door. The medieval mind believed that a woman's spirit was more porous than a man, making her a natural vessel for outside forces. If you felt a sudden, overwhelming surge of emotion, it was not your heart speaking. It was a demon whispering. High stakes governed every breath. A simple panic attack, a seizure, or even a moment of defiant anger could be labeled as demonic possession. The reveal of this era is chilling in its simplicity. A simple tremble, a stutter, or a melancholy gaze could lead a woman directly to the ritual of exorcism, or worse, the accusation of witchcraft. To be anxious was to be suspicious. To be depressed was to be under a spell. The internal struggle was externalized into a battle between heaven and hell, and the woman's body was the silent battlefield. The fear of being found out created a secondary layer of trauma, a constant, low-level vibration of terror that haunted every waking hour. But listen to the silence of your room now. The shadows dancing on your walls are just shadows, a play of light and memory. There are no demons here. There are no spirits hiding in the corners. The supernatural fears of the Middle Ages are only stories now, ink on old parchment that has no power over you. You are protected by the sturdy walls of the present. The only spirit here is your own calm, peaceful and retreating into the sanctuary of sleep. Your mind is a private garden, and tonight the gates are locked to all but the softest dreams. You can breathe easily, knowing that your emotions are your own, and they are safe. But as the medieval world began to wake up to the light of the Renaissance, even the rebirth of art and the dawn of science could not quite save the misunderstood. The Enlightenment was coming, but for many it would only bring a more elegant kind of thought. Confinement, thought. The heavy, damp shadows of the medieval stone begin to dissolve, replaced by a flickering amber glow. Imagine the soft, rhythmic scratching of a quill pen against aged parchment. This is the Renaissance, the rebirth of art, the dawn of anatomy, and the age of Da Vinci. The air smells of linseed oil, turpentine, and the cold, mineral dust of marble workshop. Outside, the world is celebrating the light of human reason. But inside the private chambers of the home, the mystery gap remains as dark as a locked cellar, even as men began to map the stars and the hidden veins of the human arm. The female mind was still treated like a map with no legend, a territory filled with imagined dangers. In this era of beauty, the cruelty was masked by logic. If a woman showed signs of a spirited mind or a heavy heart, the Renaissance healers turned to the balance of the four humans. They believed your soul was too hot or too moist, and to quiet the internal storm, they reached for the leech and the blade. Imagine the cold stillness of a room where the only sound is the slow drip of water. To cool the feminine spirit, blood was drawn away, drop by drop, under the belief that draining the body would settle the mind. It was a period where the vibrant colors of the ceiling frescoes contrasted sharply with the pale, weakened faces of women who were told their very vitality was a symptom of disorder. The reveal of this enlightenment was a bitter irony. In an age that worshipped the rediscovery of ancient texts, reading books was often considered a health hazard for women. It was believed that deep thought diverted too much vital energy away from the natural feminine organs, leading to a withered spirit or a physical collapse. Knowledge was seen as a poison to the fragile feminine constitution. To be curious was to be at risk. To be intellectual was to be unwell. The very books that liberated the minds of men were locked away from women to protect their delicate nerves from the strain of fate. But as you listen to this, feel the absolute freedom of your own mind. Your thoughts are your own, and they are free to wander wherever they wish, safely and without judgment. You can explore the furthest reaches of your imagination as you drift towards sleep, knowing that your intelligence is a source of strength, not a sickness. There is no one to lock the library of your mind. You are the master of your own internal landscape, and it is a place of peace and limitless horizon. Breathe in the quiet, and let the scratching of the quill fade into the distance. Reason was blooming like a garden for men, but for women, the path forward was paved with sedation. As the art of the Renaissance grows dim, we move into the hushed velvet parlors of the 18th century, where the whispers of the mind were drowned out by a drop of liquid silence. The world shifts into a scene of melancholic elegance. Imagine the soft, rhythmic rustle of heavy silk gowns moving across a carpeted floor. There is the delicate, melodic clink of fine-boned china teacups resting on silver saucers. The room is filled with the pale, filtered light of a late afternoon in the 1700s, casting long shadows across floral walls. This was the age of the nervous lady. It was a time when a woman's sensitivity was seen as a mark of her high status, yet it was also a golden cage. To be fashionably ill was almost expected, a sign that you were too refined for the harsh realities of the world. But beneath the lace and the powdered wigs, the mystery gap was filled with a profound, quiet desperation. The air in these parlors feels still, almost breathless. Women who suffered from what we now call depression or chronic stress were diagnosed with the vapors or the spleen. Their sadness was treated like a fragile ornament that needed to be dusted and put away. Instead of addressing the isolation of their lives, the world offered them a chemical curtain. The reveal of this century is found in a small, dark glass bottle kept in the vanity drawer. Laudanum. Laudanum was the liquid silence of a generation, a potent mixture of opium and alcohol. It was prescribed for everything from a headache to a broken heart. It didn't cure the sadness. It simply turned the world into a soft, hazy blur. It muffled the cries of the soul and replaced the sharp edges of reality with a warm, sluggish fog. Thousands of women lived their lives in this beautiful, gilded twilight, their emotions numbed by the very medicine meant to sustain. They were present in body, but their spirits were drifting in a sea of poppy-colored dreams, silenced by a world that found their true voices too loud to handle. But you, in this moment, are waking up to the peace of natural rest. You do not need a veil of liquid silence. Your mind is calming itself through the simple, honest rhythm of your breath. Feel the clarity of the dark, the honesty of the silence around you. You are not numbing your spirit, you are giving it the deep, restorative sleep it deserves. You are here, you are present, and you are gently letting go. The silk rustles one last time, and the teacups are cleared away, as we transition from the parlor to the heavy, suffocating stillness of the Victorian bedroom. Imagine a room where the air is perfectly still, heavy with the scent of rosewater and old wood. The curtains are made of thick, midnight blue velvet, and they are drawn tightly shut, allowing not even a single sliver of sunlight to touch the floor. The world outside is roaring with the Industrial Revolution, the steam engines and progress. But inside this room, time has stopped. This is the Victorian era, and you are being introduced to the most famous remedy for the female spirit, the rest cure. It is deep immersion in stillness, a sanctuary that slowly begins to feel like a cell. The philosophy was simple and devastating. If a woman was overwhelmed by the world, or if she dared to pursue a career in art or writing, she was diagnosed with neurasthenia, an exhaustion of the nerves. The cure was total, absolute inactivity. You were confined to this plush, silent room for weeks, or even months at a time. You were not allowed to walk. You were not allowed to sew. You were not allowed to talk to visitors, or even hold a pencil. You were fed a diet of heavy creams and milk, and you were told that your only job was to be a statue. The world believed that by forcing the body to be still, the broken heart would eventually stop its frantic beating and learn to be quiet. The reveal of the rest cure is the haunting reality of forced silence. This was not a rest for the woman. It was a rest from the woman for everyone else. By stripping away her ability to create, to move, and to communicate, the cure often drove the mind into the very madness it was supposed to prevent. It was a silence that screamed. The mystery gap was no longer a misunderstanding. It was a physical wall built around the feminine voice. The more a woman resisted, the more rest she was prescribed, until the mind began to flicker like a candle in a room without oxygen. But as you lie here now, recognize the beautiful difference. Your stillness is a choice. Your silence is a gift you are giving to yourself. Unlike the Victorian rooms of old, your door is open to the morning when you choose to wake. You are resting because you have earned it, not because you are being hidden away. Let the heavy velvet curtains of that Victorian room dissolve into the soft, comforting dark of your own space. You can feel your muscles letting go, sinking deeper into the mattress. You are safe in your stillness. You are the owner of your silence. The heavy doors of the Victorian house are closing now, muffled by the fog of London. As we leave the silent rooms behind, we step into the 20th century, where the silence of the bedroom is replaced by the analytical echoes of the doctor's couch. The heavy, stifling stillness of the Victorian bedroom begins to lift, replaced by a room that feels both more intimate and more clinical. Imagine the scent of rich, aromatic cigar smoke lingering in the air, mingling with the dry, comforting smell of thousands of old, leather-bound books. You are in Vienna, at the turn of the new century. The walls are covered in heavy Persian rug, and in the center of the room lies a famous piece of furniture, a long, low couch draped in soft velvet and topped with a mountain of pillows. This is the office of Sigmund Freud, and for the first time in history, the mystery gap is moving out of the body and into the dark, tangled woods of the subconscious mind. You are invited to lie down, just as you are lying down now. But instead of being told to be silent, you are told to speak. Tell me everything. The voice whispers from the shadows behind your head. The healers of this era no longer look for wandering organs or demonic possession. They look for ghosts. In your childhood, the air feels thick with the weight of memory. Every dream, every slip of the tongue, and every unexplained fear was now a puzzle to be solved. The fragile mind was no longer a biological failure, but a library of secrets that had been locked away for too long. The reveal of this new psychological era was a startling shift in blame. Anxiety, doctors claimed, was no longer in the womb, but in the family tree. Mystery gap was filled with the concept of daddy issues and repressed desire. Your panic attacks weren't caused by a traveling uterus, but by the way your father looked at you when you were 5, or the things your mother never said. While it gave women a voice, it also gave them a new kind of burden. The idea that their very thoughts were a minefield of hidden traumas. The doctor became the gatekeeper of your own truth, translating your feelings into a language you were told you couldn't understand without him. But as you listen to the rhythmic ticking of a grandfather clock in that Viennese office, feel the relief of being your own narrator tonight. You do not need an analyst to translate your piece. Your mind is not a problem to be solved or a trauma to be unearthed. It is a landscape that is allowed to simply be quiet. You can let go of the why and the how of your emotion. Tonight, there are no hidden meanings in your tiredness, only the simple, beautiful reality of a body seeking rest. The cigar smoke fades, the leather books vanish into the dark, and we drift forward into the bright, neon-lit kitchens of the mid-century. The scene shifts into a world of vibrant, candy-colored perfection. Imagine the hum of a brand-new refrigerator, the sharp, clean scent of lemon floor wax, and the rhythmic ticking of a clock shaped like a cat on a kitchen wall. The sun is shining through checkered curtains, illuminating a house that looks like a dream of the future. This is the 1950s, the era of the suburban miracle. But beneath the polished surfaces and the wide practiced smiles, a new kind of domestic dread was beginning to simmer. The mystery gap had returned, but this time it was hidden behind the white picket fence of the perfect life. Women were told they had everything they could ever want: modern appliances, healthy children, and a quiet home. Yet, a silent epidemic of nervous exhaustion began to sweep through the suburb. It was a sadness that had no name, a feeling of being invisible in your own bright kitchen. Instead of questioning why these women felt so hollow, the era offered a modern miracle in a tiny yellow pill. The reveal of this decade is the chemical corset of the suburban housewife. Valium. Valium was nicknamed Mother's Little Helper. It was the liquid silence of the Renaissance, an aldenum of the 18th century, repackaged for the modern age. It didn't solve the isolation or the loss of identity. It simply made the walls feel softer. It was a way to keep the smile in place while the spirit drifted further away. Thousands of women moved through their days in a gentle pharmaceutical haze, their anxieties muffled by a chemical blanket. The mystery gap was bridged not with understanding, but with sedation. The dread was still there, but it was now a quiet, manageable ghost that didn't disturb the neighbors. But you, in this moment, are choosing a different kind of quiet. You are not numbing your world. You are simply turning off the lights. You are safe to feel the fullness of your exhaustion without needing to hide it. There is no perfect life you need to maintain tonight. Your kitchen is dark. The appliances are silent, and the world expects nothing from you. Feel the incredible relief of being unobserved. You are not a character in a commercial. You are a human being, and your tiredness is an honest, holy thing. Let the hum of the refrigerator fade into a deep, velvety silence as we step out of the suburban dream and into the soft, glowing light of the present. We arrive at the present, a world of blue light, constant connection, and a pace that never seems to slow down. But here, in the quiet of your room, we are starting a soft revolution. The mystery gap that stretched across centuries from the wandering womb to the chemical corset is finally beginning to close. We are no longer looking for demons or rogue organs to explain why we feel. We are beginning to realize that to be human is to be complex, and to be tired is not a defect. It is a signal from a soul that deserves to be heard. The reveal of our modern age is a radical act of kindness. We are learning that resting is not a flaw, and it is not a waste of time. It is an act of resistance in a world that demands your attention every second. Choosing to close your eyes and do nothing is a powerful declaration of your own worth. You are reclaiming your body from the doctors of Greece, the priests of the Middle Ages, and the analysts of Vienna. Your emotions are no longer mysteries to be solved by others. They are yours to hold, to feel, and then, slowly, to let go of as you drift into sleep. This is the emotional catharsis of our journey. All those centuries of misunderstood whispers are finally finding peace in the silence of your room tonight. You are carrying the strength of all those women who were told to be quiet, but you are doing it on your own terms. You are the soft revolution. Every slow, deep breath you take is a victory over the chaos of the path. You are safe, you are understood, you are allowed to be still. Feel the bed rise up to meet you, supporting every inch of your body. The history of the fragile mind is over for tonight. The heavy books are closed, the parlors are empty, and the neon lights have been switched off. There is only you, the dark, and the infinite, gentle space of your dreams. You have traveled through time, through pain, and through misunderstanding, only to arrive exactly where you belong, in a state of perfect, protected rest. But as your mind begins to float in this peaceful sea, a new image begins to form. It is not a thought, but a symbol, a line, a curve, a mark etched into the skin. As the history of the mind fades, the history of the body begins to speak in a different way. We are leaving the world of internal whispers and moving toward a world of external marks. Just as we etched our stories into the dust of time, we have always etched them into ourselves. Let the silence of the mind lead you toward the rhythmic ancient sound of a needle tapping against skin. A new journey is about to begin beneath the surface in the world of ink and bone. Imagine a world of white, where the only sound is the crunch of frozen snow beneath heavy fur-lined feet. We are high in the Alps, 5,000 years ago, standing on a jagged ridge where the air is so thin and cold, it feels like breathing diamond. Before us, a hunter-traveler named Ötzi rests against the ice. His world is silent, brutal, and ancient. As you sink deeper into your own bed, feel the contrast of his cold world against your warm. You are safe, tucked away from the biting wind, but we are here to look at something small, something hidden beneath his goatskin coat. We are looking at the very first marks ever made by human hands upon human flesh. These aren't the elaborate portraits or colorful symbols we know today. On Ötzi's skin, there are simple dark lines, parallel dashes on his lower back, his ankles, and his knees. For decades, scientists wondered if these were marks of status or tribal identity. But the secret of the Iceman is far more intimate and practical. The reveal of these ancient marks is that they weren't intended to be art at all. They were a form of prehistoric medicine, a primitive acupuncture for pain. Each line was placed precisely over a joint ravaged by arthritis, a physical prayer for relief etched in charcoal and bone. The ink was rubbed into small incisions, a quiet ritual to soothe a body that had traveled too far and worked too hard. It was a way for the ancient mind to exert control over the physical suffering of the world. Feel that same sense of relief now. Imagine those small, dark lines drawing the tension out of your own joints, pulling the ache from your lower back and the heaviness from your leg. You don't need the charcoal or the needle. You only need the breath. Let the ancient healing of the Iceman remind you that your body is a vessel that deserves care and quietude. The ice of the Alps begins to melt in the sun of memory, flowing down into rivers that lead us away from the frozen peak. The biting wind softens into a warm, humid breeze, carrying the scent of salt spray and hibiscus. We are leaving the silent mountains for the rhythmic, pulsing heart of the great ocean. The sound of the ocean is a constant, low-frequency hum, the heartbeat of the Pacific. Imagine sitting on a white sand beach at dusk, the water lapping at the shore with a rhythmic shush, hush, shush. The air is thick with the smell of roasted coconut and damp earth. Beneath the shade of a wide palm leaf, a sacred ritual is taking place. There is no machine here, no buzzing electricity. Instead, there is a steady, hypnotic sound. Tap, 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 tap. It is the sound of a bone cone, dipped in dark soot, being struck by a small wooden mallet. This is the art of the tattoo. In Polynesia, a tattoo was not just a decoration. It was a garment of history, a story of lineage and bravery woven directly into the skin. Every line and every curve represented a wave cross, a mountain climb, or an ancestor honor. The process was slow, a test of endurance that lasted from sunrise to sunset for weeks. The rhythmic tapping becomes a form of meditation, a pulse that aligns with the breathing of the person receiving the mark. The reveal of this sacred practice lies in the very name we use today. The word tattoo is an echo of the sound itself. The tata of the bone, a rhythmic heartbeat made audible. As you listen to that imaginary tap-tap in the distance, let it become the rhythm of your own relaxation. Every tap is a signal to let go. Every mark is a weight being released. You are being clothed in a blanket of heavy, warm sleep. There is no pain here, only the steady, comforting beat of an ancient tradition. You are part of a long line of travelers who have found peace in the rhythm of the world. The ocean tide is coming in, washing over the sand, smoothing away the footprints of the day. The rhythmic tapping fades into the sound of a bamboo forest swaying in the wind. The salt air turns into the scent of green tea and rain-washed stone. We are traveling north and east toward a land of mist and hidden meaning, where ink became a mark of both shape and shadow. In the narrow, lantern-lit alleys of old Edo, the rain falls softly on gray cobblestones. Imagine the glow of paper lanterns reflecting in the puddle. casting long trembling shadows of red and gold. Here, in the heart of ancient Japan, ink carried a heavy weight. For centuries, a tattoo was a brand of the outcast. A small mark on the forehead or a ring around the arm told the world that you had broken the law. It was a visible scar of shame, a way for society to ensure you could never truly hide your past. The mystery gap here was the distance between the person you were and the mark the world forced you to wear. But beneath the surface of this shame, something magnificent began to grow. The reveal of the Japanese tattoo is a story of incredible transformation. The very people who were branded as outcasts decided to reclaim their skin. They didn't wash away the marks of shame, they expanded them, covering their entire bodies in sprawling, hidden masterpieces of dragons, koi fish, and cherry blossom. These were the origins of the Yakuza's bodysuits art that was never meant to be seen by the public, but was worn like a secret armor beneath a silk kimono. The tattoo became a symbol of what lies beneath the surface, the strength, the beauty, and the stories we keep for ourselves. Tonight, feel the comfort of your own skin as a private sanctuary. You don't need to show the world your strength or your history. Like the hidden masterpieces of Edo, your inner world is yours alone. It is a place of vivid color and quiet power, protected from the gaze of the outside world. Let the rain and the bamboo forest wash away any lingering judgments of the day. You are hidden, you are safe, and your story is your own. The lanterns of the alleyway flicker and dim, and the scent of rain-washed stone turns into the sharp wild smell of crushed wood and damp heather. We are moving toward the mist-shrouded forests of the north, where the skin was painted with the color of the sky. Imagine a forest so old and thick that the sunlight only reaches the floor in tiny, shimmering needles of light. The air is cold and smells of pine needles, wet moss, and ancient thunder. We are in the highlands of Britain, 2,000 years ago. Through the mist, figures emerge, warriors with skin the color of a stormy sea. These are the Picts, the painted people, as the Romans called them. They did not use the dark soot of the Pacific or the black ink of Asia. They used a plant called woad, which produced a deep, haunting blue. They didn't just paint patterns, they wore their ancestry like blue armor. The reveal of these ancient Celts is that their tattoos were a map of their soul and their soil. Every swirl, knotwork design was an echo of the twisting vines of the forest and the turbulent waves of the northern coast. To the Romans, they looked like monsters, but to themselves, they were simply wearing their home on their skin. The blue ink was a promise to the earth that they would never be separated from it, even in death. It was a primal earthy connection that turned the body into a living piece of the landscape. Feel that connection to the earth now. Imagine your bed is a soft patch of moss in a silent, protected forest. The deep blue of the Celtic twilight is settling over you, a heavy, comforting blanket that shields you from the world. You are not a stranger here. You belong to the quiet, to the dark, and to the ancient rhythm of the land. The blue thunder of the warriors has softened into a low, distant hum, like the sound of a bumblebee in a summer field. The mist of the highlands begins to swirl and thicken, turning into the gray smoke of a flickering candle. The wild forests are receding, replaced by the hushed, hallowed halls of a medieval cathedral. The ink of the warrior is about to become the ink of the pilgrim. The wild blue thunder of the highlands begins to soften, melting into the hushed, hallowed echoes of the medieval cathedral. Imagine the cool, damp breath of ancient stone and the sweet, lingering scent of beeswax candles flickering in the alcove. You are a traveler in the Middle Ages, your feet heavy from the dusty roads of Europe, but your heart full of a quiet, burning purpose. The mystery gap here is a bridge between the earthly body and the divine soul. For the medieval pilgrim, the journey to the holy city was the ultimate act of devotion, a physical manifestation of a spiritual longing that transcended the world. As you rest in the deep shadow of a great stone arch, imagine the flickering light of a single torch illuminating a small, hidden corner of a bustling Mediterranean port. Here, in the secret chambers of the Levant, a unique and silent ritual took place. The reveal of these medieval travelers is found on the delicate skin of their inner wrists. They did not seek grand masterpieces or elaborate tales. They sought a permanent, indelible proof of their faith. Small, simple crosses were inked into the skin, the Jerusalem cross serving as a spiritual passport for the soul. If they fell on the long, treacherous road home, these marks ensured they would receive a sanctified burial. It was a tattoo of protection, a silent prayer, etched in blue ink that would never fade, even when the voice grew quiet in the dark. Feel that sense of protection now. Imagine a small, worn mark of peace on your own wrist. A symbol that you have finally arrived at your destination for the night. You are no longer a pilgrim on a weary road. You are home. The massive stone walls of the cathedral are strong and steady, shielding you from the storms of the world outside. The candlelight is dimming, inviting you to close your eyes and let the silence of the ages wash over you. Your journey for the day is over, and you are exactly where you need to be. The smell of incense begins to drift away, replaced by the sharp, bracing scent of salt air and old hemp rope. The steady floor beneath you begins to tilt and sway ever so slightly, like a cradle in the dark. We are leaving the silent cloisters for the creaking timber and vast starry horizons of the open sea. Imagine the low rhythmic creak of a wooden ship's hull as it cuts through the dark velvet of the midnight Atlantic. The air is thick with the cool spray of the ocean and the nostalgic smell of tar and ancient tobacco. Above you, a billion stars are scattered across the sky, so black it feels like looking into the very heart of a diamond. This is the world of the 18th century sailor, a life lived on the narrow edge of the horizon, where the only thing between you and the deep blue abyss is a few inches of weathered oak. In this world of vast uncertainty, ink became a form of survival. The sailor's skin was a living map of his travels and a magical shield against his deepest fear. Every anchor, every swallow, and every compass rose told a story of a storm weathered or a distant port reached. But beneath the decorative art lay a deep, visceral superstition that kept the heart steady during the gale. The reveal of the sailor's ink is found not on the muscular arms, but on the tops of the feet. Many sailors would have a pig tattooed on one foot and a rooster on the other. It sounds whimsical to the modern ear, but to a man who could not swim, it was a life jacket for the soul, because pigs and roosters were kept in wooden crates that often floated during shipwreck. The sailors believed these spirits would find land and prevent them from being swallowed by the tide. As you lie in your bed, feel the gentle rocking motion of that great wooden ship. You are safe in your cabin, tucked away from the cold waves. Those ancient symbols of the pig and the rooster are watching over you, ensuring that you stay afloat in the warm sea of your dream. You do not need to navigate the dark. The ship knows the way home. The stars above are fixed and steady, guiding you toward a morning that is still far, far away. Let the sound of the water against the hull lull you into a deeper, heavier state of rest. The ocean is vast, but you are cradled in its rhythm. The salt spray begins to dry, and the sound of the waves is replaced by a new, rhythmic, humming, mechanical, buzzing song of progress. The scent of the sea turns into the smell of ozone and hot metal. We are leaving the wooden ship behind for the clatter and spark of the industrial age. Imagine the interior of a workshop in old New York, late at night. The room is filled with the warm yellow glow of early electric lamps and the smell of machine oil and dark ink. Outside, the city is beginning to pulse with the electric energy of the late 19th century, the era of the inventor, the dreamer, and the engineer. For thousands of years, tattoos were made with the slow, rhythmic tap of a bone needle, or the steady, silent hand of a blade. But in the year 1891, the mystery gap between the ancient past and the modern future was bridged by a single, brilliant electric spark. The sound of the workshop is a high-pitched, steady buzz, like the sound of a mechanical horn in the summer. Samuel O'Reilly, a visionary artist, is holding a device that looks like a strange metallic pen. The reveal of this industrial wonder is that the very first tattoo machine was not a new invention at all. It was a modified version of Thomas Edison's electric pen. Edison had designed it to make copies of mundane documents by punching tiny holes in paper. But O'Reilly saw a different, more beautiful potential. By adding a system for ink and a faster motor, he turned a tool of bureaucracy into a tool of personal identity. He turned the frantic speed of the city into the rhythmic speed of art. Feel that steady, humming vibration now, but let it be a soothing pulse, like a purring cat resting on your chest. The frantic energy of the industrial age is being filtered through the quiet of your room, becoming a rhythmic, mechanical lullaby. The sparks of the workshop are just distant fireflies in the back of your mind. The machine has done its work, and now it is perfectly still. The ink has been placed, the story has been told, and the workshop is closing its doors for the night. The hum fades into a deep, heavy silence, a silence that smells of cold iron and distant echo. The workshop walls begin to turn into the gray, weathered concrete of a high-walled courtyard. The smell of oil turns into the scent of rain on asphalt and the metallic tang of wire. We are moving into the deep shadows of the world, where ink became a secret language of survival. The world narrows down to a small, stark room, where the light is a soft gray and the air feels still and heavy. This is the world of the shadows, the places where society hides its secrets and its sorrow. In the heavy silence of the cells, where every possession is stripped away, the skin becomes the only canvas left to the human. Here, ink is not about fashion, trend, or tradition. It is a raw, visceral resume of time itself. The mystery gap is the immense distance between the person the world sees from the outside and the complex history they carry on their bones. In these quiet, desperate spaces, a secret language was born out of necessity. The reveal of this hidden art is that every mark is a coded message, a biography written in a dialect of tears, webs, and stars. A tiny teardrop beneath the eye might speak of a loss that can never be recovered, or a grief too heavy to put into words. A spiderweb on the elbow might count the slow, crawling years spent waiting for a door to open. These were not just decorations. They were a way to reclaim an identity in a place specifically designed to erase it. It was a way for a soul to say, I was here, I survived, and I am still myself. As you listen to the distant, muffled sounds of this world, feel the immense freedom and luxury of your own space. Your skin is not a record of your mistakes or your struggles. It is a soft, protected boundary between you and the busy world. You do not need to code your history for anyone to see tonight. You are free to be nameless, storyless, and weightless. Let the teardrops and the webs dissolve into the grey shadows of the past. You are in a place of absolute, unyielding safety, where the only thing that matters is the calm rhythm of your own. The bars are gone, the walls have melted away, and you are out in the open air, under a vast, welcoming sky. The grey concrete turns into the soft, warm light of a modern studio, filled with the gentle smell of cleaning, soap, and the sound of soft, ambient music. The shadows are lifting, replaced by a world where the skin is finally a place of intentional healing. We arrive at the present moment, in a room that feels bright, clean, and full of infinite possibility. The air smells of lavender and sterile cotton, a scent of new beginnings and fresh start. For the first time in the long history of our species, the needle is no longer a mark of shame, a sign of the outcast or a tool of ancient superstition. It has become a brush, and the body has become a celebrated, living canvas. The mystery gap is finally closing, replaced by a deep, intentional connection between who we are on the inside and how we choose to look on the outside. In this modern age, we witness the most beautiful transformation of all. The reveal of our contemporary ink is the profound power of reclamation. We see artists using their delicate skill to ink over the physical scars of the past scars, from surgery, from accidents, or from long battles we thought we had lost, by covering a mark of pain for the design of intricate beauty. The body is reclaimed by its owner. The scar does not disappear, but it becomes the foundation for a vibrant garden of flowers or a silent flight of birds. The skin is no longer a record of what happened to us. It is a bold declaration of what we have chosen to become. Feel that sense of reclamation in your own body now. As you drift toward the final hazy edges of sleep, imagine your own skin as a soft, glowing canvas of light. Any scars you carry from your long day's stress, the tired thoughts, the lingering worries are being covered by a beautiful, invisible ink of total peace. You are reclaiming your rest. You are reclaiming your night. Every inch of you is becoming a masterpiece of relaxation, a garden of quiet where no outside noise can enter. The studio lights are dimming now, turning into the soft purple glow of a summer twilight. But as we find peace within our own skin, our gaze begins to drift upward, beyond the ceiling, beyond the clouds, and into the silent, velvet blackness of the night sky. Marks we make on our bodies are small, but the marks we have dreamed of making among the stars are vast. The ink of the earth is fading, replaced by the cold, shimmering silver of the cosmos. We are leaving the history of the flesh behind, and stepping into an era where humanity dared to leave the cradle of the world itself. The rhythmic tap of the needle is silent, replaced by the majestic, echoing roar of a journey toward the earth. The soft, purple glow of the modern world begins to dissolve, replaced by a flickering, noir-like landscape of 1945. Imagine the long, cooling shadows of a dense forest in central Germany. The air is sharp, tasting of pine needles and damp earth, but also of something cold, industrial, and metallic. The war is drawing to a close, and in the deep, echoing silence of underground tunnels, a monumental secret is being unburied. This is the true beginning of the space race, but it does not start with a poetic dream of the stars. It starts with a desperate, silent scramble for the technology of the Earth. You are walking through a quiet, fog-shrouded valley. The mystery gap here is the strange, uncomfortable bridge between destruction and discovery. Brilliant scientists who had spent years designing engines of terror are now packing their intricate blueprints into wooden crates, looking with hope toward the American horizon. This was Operation Paperclip, a shadow mission to bring the minds behind the V-2 rockets to the New World. The reveal of our journey to the moon is a heavy, sobering truth. The engines that eventually carried humanity to the heavens were born from the fires of conflict. The very same metal, the same complex mathematics, and the same cold ambition that once haunted European skies were repurposed to touch the silent lunar dust. Feel the weight of this history as a form of grounding. The past is complex, layered with shadows, but you are standing in the absolute safety of the present. As you lie in the comfort of your room, let the tension of those post-war forests evaporate into the dark. You are shielded from the machinery of history. The blueprints are locked away, the secret tunnels are sealed, and the echoes of the past have faded into the pages of old books. The sharp pine air of Germany turns into the humid coastal breeze of Florida. The flickering black and white film of the mid-century begins to glow with a strange, new electronic light. We are moving from the hidden forest to the wide open beaches, where the world is about to hear a sound it will never forget. Imagine standing on a dark, quiet porch on a crisp October night in 1957. The crickets are singing their rhythmic, late summer song, and the air is perfectly still. You look up, searching the vast, velvet dome of the sky. Suddenly, you see it a tiny, fast-moving spark of light, no brighter than a distant star, crossing the dark horizon with a cold, mechanical precision. This is Sputnik 1. It is the first man-made object to ever leave the cradle of the Earth, a polished metal sphere no larger than a beach ball, with 4 long antennas trailing behind it like the delicate legs of a silver spider. The world below is in a state of sudden, breathless shock. The reveal of this cosmic pioneer is the profound irony of its simple existence. A polished metal ball, barely capable of anything more than a steady pulse. caused a global panic that shifted the course of history, while it drifted through the absolute, freezing silence of the vacuum. It sent back a sound that haunted the airwaves of every nation. Beep, beep, beep. It was the sound of the mystery gap finally opening between the solid ground beneath our feet and the infinite, terrifying void above. It was a signal that the sky was no longer a ceiling, but a doorway, and humanity had finally turned the key. Listen to that rhythmic beep in your mind now, but let it be a slow, steady pulse that calms your own heart. It is the heartbeat of the stars, a lonely, mechanical lullaby drifting through the cold dark. You are not lost in that world. You are tucked safely in your bed, listening to the harmless echoes of a distant age. The panic of the world is merely a ghost of the past. The little silver ball is still out there in the collective memory, orbiting in the silence, but you are here in the warmth of your own sanctuary. The electronic beat begins to stretch and grow, turning into the low, powerful hum of a laboratory filled with glowing screens and focused, brilliant mind. The quiet of the October night is replaced by the purposeful clatter of a bold new era. Imagine a vast, bright hangar filled with the smell of ozone, fresh paint, and high-octane fuel. Men in white short-sleeved shirts and narrow ties are huddled over massive drafting tables, their pens moving with the synchronized speed of 1,000 dreams. This is Montaigne 58, the birth of NASA. The air is electric, charged with a new kind of national ambition. The mystery gap is no longer defined by fear, it is defined by the frantic, brilliant leap. Science has suddenly become the new front line of human endeavor, a peaceful challenge fought with side rules, liquid oxygen, and raw courage. The reveal of this era is the sheer, haunting fragility of the early dream. These were not the polished, computerized missions of the modern day. They were daring, dangerous experiments held together by grit and fundamental mathematics. Every rocket sitting on the launch pad was a giant question mark directed at the heavens. The scientists were learning how to breathe in a vacuum, how to survive in zero gravity, and how to bring a human soul safely back from the edge of it. It was a time when the impossible felt like a daily requirement. Feel the focused, quiet energy of that hangar surrounding you like a protective cocoon. It is a place of absolute order and mathematical precision. Every bolt is tightened, every trajectory is checked. Let that sense of order settle into your own mind. Your night is being organized for peace, just as the engineers prepared the tiny capsules for the long journey. Your body is preparing for the deep, restorative voyage of sleep. The clatter of the hangar begins to fade, replaced by a profound, heavy stillness. The smell of oil and metal turns into the scent of nothing at all, the pure, thin air of the upper atmosphere. We are rising, leaving the hangars behind, as we break through the clouds and into the endless blue. Imagine the profound sensation of weightlessness. It is not a fall, but a floating, a total, blissful release of every muscle. You are strapped into a small, cramped capsule called Vostok 1. Outside the thick, reinforced glass of the porthole, the sky has turned from the bright, familiar blue of morning to a deep, majestic black that no human eye had ever witnessed before. This is April 12th, 1961, and you are Yuri Gagarin, the first human to ever orbit the Earth. 1. The mystery gap has finally been crossed. You are no longer a creature of the soil. You are a witness to the entire universe. As the capsule drifts 200 miles above the surface, the reveal of this breathtaking journey begins to unfold in your mind. Gagarin looked down at the world and did not see the political maps he had studied in school. He did not see the borders of countries, the walls of empires, or the bitter lines of conflict. Instead, he saw a single, fragile, and impossibly beautiful blue marble hanging in the absolute velvet dark of space. He saw the thin, glowing veil of the atmosphere, the only thing protecting every life, every memory, and every dream from the cold, indifferent infinity of the cosmos. He whispered into his radio, his voice trembling with awe. I see Earth. It is so beautiful. Feel that perspective shifting within you now. From this incredible height, all the heavy worries of your day are completely invisible. The stresses of your life are smaller than a single grain of sand on a distant, forgotten beach. There are no borders in your mind tonight, no divisions between your thoughts and your peace. You are part of that beautiful glowing blue sphere, floating in a vast sea of velvet silence. The earth is taking care of you, holding you gently in its gravity, while you drift in the weightless freedom of sleep. The blackness of space is not a lonely place. It is a warm, protective blanket woven from stars. The capsule is quiet, the radio has gone silent, and the earth below is turning slowly, bathed in the soft silver light of the moon. As we watch the blue marble rotate, we begin to leave the orbit of the planet, moving further into the silver light toward the silent, dusty plains where the first footprints are waiting to be made. The vast silent orbit of the blue marble begins to narrow, pulling us gently back toward the sun-drenched tarmac of the early 1960s. Imagine the heat haze shimmering off the Florida runways of the shock. The huge metallic tank of jet fuel in the warm morning air. 7 men stand before a wall of flashing cameras, dressed in gleaming silver flight suits that look like they were woven from the fabric of stars. These are the Mercury Seven, the first pioneers chosen to ride the lightning into the deep unknown. The mystery gap here is the strange electric space between the humble pilot and the celestial icon. You can almost hear the rhythmic, rapid-fire clicking of the press cameras, a sound that mimics the frantic heartbeat of a nation, watching and waiting. These men were chosen for their right stuff, their steady hands and ice-cold nerve. But as you sink deeper into the stillness of your own room, consider the hidden reveal of their legend. These pilots were crowned as national heroes by the media long before they ever touched the sky. They were icons on magazine covers, symbols of a future that had not yet arrived, carrying the weight of an entire civilization's expectations, while they were still practicing in simple plywood simulators. Feel that bravery now as a quiet, internal strength. You do not need the flashing cameras or the silver suit to be courageous. True bravery is the ability to face the quiet unknown of the night with a steady heart. The frantic energy of the press conferences is fading now, replaced by the deep, focused silence of a cockpit. The 7 have moved from the stage to the stars, and the world is no longer just watching, it is breathing with them. The smell of fuel turns into the scent of sterile oxygen and the faint, dusty aroma of ancient rock. We are leaving the era of the individual hero and moving toward the greatest collective heartbeat in human history. Imagine the absolute, crushing silence of the lunar landscape. There is no wind here, no rustle of leaves, no sound of distant traffic. The sky is not blue, it is a permanent, majestic black, crowded with more shimmering stars than the human mind can possibly count. Beneath your boots, the ground is a fine silver-gray dust that feels like powdered silk. This is July 20th, 1969, and you are standing on the sea of tranquility. The mystery gap has been closed by a ladder, a footprint, and a solitary heartbeat. This is the ultimate peak of the human journey, the moment we finally stepped off our home and onto the shores of another world. As you look back at the earth, a tiny glowing sapphire hanging in the void, the true reveal of this mission begins to settle in your mind. We often remember the 2 men walking on the gray dust, but the miracle was not performed by 2 people alone. The reveal of Apollo 11 is the staggering, silent army behind that single footprint. Over 400 seamstresses, engineers, wow, and mathematicians worked in perfect obsessive harmony to put those men on a roll. It was a symphony of human effort, where the woman sewing the spacesuit was just as vital as the man calculating the trajectory. It was the moment humanity proved that when we stop looking at our borders and start looking at the stars, there is nothing we cannot achieve together. Feel the immense, supportive weight of that collective effort. You are not alone in your journey towards sleep, just as those 400. 0 people supported the astronauts. The entire world is resting with you now. A vast, silent network of breathing souls. The tension of the moon landing, the worry about fuel, the fear of the unknown is gone. The mission was a success. The footprints are permanent in a land where no wind blows. The lunar module is quiet, the shadows are long and peaceful, and the silver dust is still. We are drifting away from the great plains of the moon, moving back toward the spinning lights of home, where the walls of conflict are beginning to crumble into a shared laboratory in the sky. The stark, silent gray of the moon dissolves into the high-tech, humming interior of a laboratory that never sleeps. Imagine the soft, rhythmic whirring of cooling fans and the gentle amber glow of instrument panels. You are floating in the International Space Station, moving at 17,000 miles per hour, 250 miles above the Earth. Here, gravity is only a memory, and the mystery gap of the 20th century, the bitter divide between East and West, has been bridged by a series of pressurized modules and shared handshakes. The air inside the station smells of ozone and a recycled breeze, clean, clinical scent of cooperation. The reveal of this orbital sanctuary is a beautiful, living paradox. The very nations that once spent billions trying to outpace each other in the Cold War have become roommates among the stars. In this narrow, metallic tube, astronauts and cosmonauts share meals, watch the same sunsets every 90 minutes, and rely on each other for their very breath. The station is a silver needle sewing the world together, a place where the politics of the ground melt away, and in the face of the magnificent, borderless view from the window, let that sense of unity wash over you like a warm wave. Your mind is its own international station, tonight a place where all your conflicting thoughts and worries can finally find a common peace. There are no enemies in the dark. There is only the shared experience of the night. The humming of the station is a lullaby of human ingenuity, a reminder that we are better when we work together. The lights of the station are dimming to a soft, resting blue. The earth below is a patchwork of city lights, glowing like embers in a hearth. We are moving beyond the orbit of our home once more, looking toward a horizon that glows with a dusty, rusted red. The blue and silver of the space station fade into a vast panoramic view of a new frontier. Imagine a horizon that stretches out in shades of ochre, yellow, copper, and deep, burnt umber. The sky above is a pale butterscotch hue, and the sun is a small, brilliant diamond in the distance. This is the red horizon, the plains of Mars. We are no longer just visiting. We are dreaming of staying. The mystery gap is shifting from where we have been to where we are going, as we stand on the edge of becoming a multiplanetary species. The air here is still and ancient, waiting for the first breath of a new civilization. The reveal of this modern era is happening right now, even as you lie in the quiet of your room. While the world sleeps, engineers are testing stainless steel starships, and rovers are singing lonely songs to themselves in Martian craters. The reveal is profound. We are becoming a multi-planetary species while you sleep. The dream of the red planet is no longer a fantasy of science fiction. It is a blueprint being built by the dreamers of today. We are preparing to carry our stories to a world that has never known a human footprint. Feel the incredible expansive peace of this future. You are a pioneer of the night, drifting toward a world of new possibilities. The red dust of Mars is soft and welcoming, a blanket for a new era of humanity. You do not need to build the rockets or calculate the orbits tonight. You only need to allow yourself to be carried by the dream. The starships are silent on their path. The red horizon is glowing in the twilight, and the universe is wide and weighty. But as the red dust settles, the metallic hum of the spacecraft begins to transform. It softens, becoming more organic, more rhythmic. The cold vacuum of space is being replaced by the warm green breath of the earth. We are returning from the stars to the soil, from the high-tech to the ancient, as we move from the history of the heavens to the history of the living world. The red horizon is fading, and in its place, the first green shoot of a different story is beginning to break through the earth. Our journey through the stars is pausing as we prepare to walk through the secret gardens of time. The rusted red horizon of Mars begins to dissolve, its dusty plains transforming into the golden, shimmering heat of the ancient Egyptian desert. Imagine the sun hanging low and heavy over the banks of the Nile, casting long dramatic shadows across the limestone cliff. We are stepping back into a time of legends, guided by the whispers of Herodotus, the father of history. He speaks of a place that defies the limits of human imagination, not a pyramid reaching for the sky, but a vast, sprawling underworld carved into the very bones of the earth. This is the great Labyrinth of Egypt, a structure so immense that it makes the other wonders of the ancient world look like mere children. As you walk across the sun-baked earth, imagine the scent of dry papyrus and the faint, sweet aroma of lotus blossoms carried on a warm desert breeze. The mystery gap here is the staggering silence of the sand. Herodotus wrote that he visited this place himself, wandering through its endless corridors and rising chambers. He claimed it contained 3,000 separate rooms, 1,500 above ground and 1,500 below. It was a masterpiece of complexity, a forest of stone pillars and secret doorways that led into the heart of the divine. The reveal of this ancient wonder is a haunting archaeological enigma. It was described as being grander, more expensive, and more complex than all the pyramids combined. Yet today, it has seemingly vanished from the face of the earth. Feel the profound mystery of that disappearance settling over you like a soft linen shroud. How can something so massive, so permanent, simply melt away into the dew? As you lie in the absolute safety of your room, let your mind wander through those lost hallways. You are a seeker of hidden truths, drifting through a history that refuses to be forgotten. The heat of the Egyptian sun is fading now, replaced by the cool subterranean air of the deep earth. The bright glare of the desert is softening into a gentle, torch-lit amber. We are moving away from the surface, descending the grand limestone stairs into the heart of the structure, where the architecture itself begins to breathe with a rhythmic, hypnotic life. Imagine the sound of your footsteps echoing softly against polished white marble. The air is cool, still, and smells of ancient stone and damp earth. You are standing in one of the 12 great courtyards of the Labyrinth, each one enclosed by a towering colonnade of monolithic pillars. The geometry here is perfect, a celestial symmetry that calms the eyes and settles the spirit. The light filters down from high, narrow openings, creating pillars of dust that dance in the stillness. This is not just a building, it is a physical map of the universe, a silent stone symphony designed to guide the wanderer through the layers of existence. As you move from one courtyard to the next, the mystery gap begins to narrow. You are not lost, you are being led every turn you take. Every doorway you pass through feels like a deliberate step toward a deeper understanding of yourself. The reveal of this architectural marvel is its sacred purpose. The labyrinth was designed to be a physical map of the soul's journey. The winding paths, the rising stairs, and the descending vaults were metaphors for the challenges and the triumphs of a human life. It was a place where one could walk through their own fears and emerge into a courtyard of brilliant sun-drenched peace. Feel that sense of purposeful movement within your own body. As you drift closer to the shores of sleep, imagine yourself gliding through these 12 courtyards. Each one represents a weight you are letting go of. In the first courtyard, you leave behind the noise of the day. In the second, you release the tension in your shoulders. By the time you reach the 12th, you are standing in a place of absolute crystalline silence. The stone is solid beneath you, supporting you completely. The pillars are like ancient sentinels watching over your rest. The rhythm of the labyrinth is the rhythm of your own breath, slow, deep, and unwavering. The amber light of the torches is dimming, and the marble walls are beginning to soften into the dark, welcoming texture of the desert night. Imagine the desert wind blowing softly over the dark, undisturbed waters of Lake Mura. It is a low, morning sound, a gentle sigh that carries the fine, golden dust of the Sahara across the landscape. The great courtyards, the towering pillars, and the 3,000 rooms of the labyrinth are no longer visible to the naked eye. The mystery gap has been closed by the patient, relentless hands of time. The desert has claimed its treasure, burying the stone masterpiece beneath 1,000 years of shifting dune and sun-bleached silence. But as you sink into the final heaviest layers of your bed, consider the ultimate detention of this story. The labyrinth is likely still there, resting in the cool dark beneath the sand, waiting in the perfect stillness. The reveal of this journey is that the labyrinth has not disappeared. It has simply moved. Bravery. It has moved from the physical world into the world of the subconscious. You are no longer just a listener. You are now a traveler in that labyrinth of dreams. Every night, as you close your eyes, you return to those 12 courtyards. You navigate the winding corridors of your own mind, moving past the memories and the thoughts of the day, seeking the central chamber of perfect undisturbed rest. The sands that cover the labyrinth are the same sands that are gently covering your worries tonight. Feel the weight of the dunes as a warm, protective blanket, pressing down with a comforting, steady pressure that tells your body it is time to let go. The viral loop of this history is the idea that the labyrinth is out there, waiting for you to find it in your dreams. It is a sanctuary that exists beyond time, a place of ancient wisdom that you can visit whenever you need to find your center. The desert wind is fading into a whisper. The stars above Lake Morris are blinking out, one by one. The history of the fragile mind, the stories etched in skin, the journey to the stars, and the secret of the subterranean stone have all led you to this singular moment of peace. The world is quiet, the air is still. You have found the center of the labyrinth, the place where the soul finds its home. Good night, traveler. The history is written, the rest is yours.